Jake Miller glanced at the digital clock on his phone. 10:47 p.m. 3 minutes until the last bus. The bus stop on Maple Avenue was nearly empty except for him and a flickering street light that buzzed every few seconds. Across the street, Rosie's Diner was closing for the night. The neon, open sign had just been switched off, leaving the window dark except for the reflection of passing cars. Jake pulled his jacket tighter. October nights in Chicago had a way of cutting through thin fabric. It had been a long day. Actually, it had been a long year. Earlier that morning, Jake had walked into the office of Henson Logistics, thinking it would be a normal Tuesday. Instead, he walked out carrying a cardboard box with his coffee mug, a framed photo of his parents, and 15 years of routine suddenly gone. Company restructuring, the manager had said. 2 words that meant you're no longer needed. Jake hadn't told anyone yet. Not his sister, not his friends, and definitely not his mom, who already worried too much. A distant engine echoed down the street. Jake looked up hopefully, but it was just a pickup truck rolling past. The bus still hadn't arrived. He leaned against the metal pole of the bus stop sign and stared down the quiet road. That's when he noticed someone sitting at the far end of the bench. An older man, maybe mid-60s. Gray beard, worn baseball cap. He held a paper cup of coffee with both hands, like it was the only thing keeping him warm. Jake was pretty sure the man hadn't been there a minute ago. Bus running late tonight, the man said without looking up. Jake nodded politely. Yeah, happens sometimes. The man chuckled softly. Sometimes, in this city, it happens most of the time. Jake smiled a little despite himself. For a few moments, they sat in silence, listening to the distant hum of traffic. Then, the man spoke again. You look like someone carrying a heavy day. Jake blinked. That obvious? The man shrugged. I've spent a lot of years watching people at bus stops. You learn things. Jake hesitated. Normally, he wouldn't open up to a stranger. But something about the quiet street and the long day made it easier. Lost my job today, Jake said. The words felt strange out loud. The man nodded slowly, like it wasn't surprising. What did you do? Operations manager, logistics company. 15 years, the man guessed. Jake turned. How did you know that? The man smiled faintly. People who lose a job after 2 years are angry. People who lose one after 15 are tired. Jake looked down at the pavement. That was exactly how he felt. Tired. I don't even know what comes next, Jake admitted. The man took a sip of coffee. You ever notice something about buses? He asked. Jake frowned slightly. What do you mean? People treat the last bus like it's the end of the road, miss it and everything's over. He gestured down the street. But the truth is, there's always another way home. Jake laughed quietly. Not at midnight. Oh, there is, the man said. Might just look different than you expected. Jake thought about that. Across the street, Rosie's Diner lights turned off completely. The waitress locked the door and drove away. The street felt even quieter now. You ever lose a job? Jake asked. The man smiled. 3 times. 3? First time I thought my life was over. Second time I thought the world was unfair. Third time, he paused. What? I realized doors close because you've been standing in the same hallway too long. Jake sat with that sentence for a moment. A pair of headlights appeared in the distance. Finally, the bus. It rolled toward the stop with a low rumble and a squeak of brakes. Jake stood up and reached for his wallet. Then he turned to say goodbye. But the bench was empty. The old man was gone. Jake blinked, confused. The street was quiet and empty again. Had he walked away while Jake wasn't looking? The bus doors hissed open. "Coming?" the driver asked. Jake stepped inside and sat near the window. As the bus pulled away, he looked back at the bus stop. For a second, under the flickering streetlight, he thought he saw the old man standing there again, just watching. Then the bus turned the corner. Jake leaned back in his seat. For the first time all day, he didn't feel like everything was falling apart. Maybe the old man was right. Maybe losing the job wasn't the end of the road. Maybe it was just the stop before the next bus. Jake pulled out his phone. Instead of searching for job listings, he opened the Notes app and typed something he hadn't written in years. A business idea he'd always been too afraid to try. Outside the window, the city lights moved past like possibilities waiting to be explored. And for the first time in a long time, Jake felt something unexpected. Not fear, not regret, hope.